The COVID inquiry always promises to be, if not one of the most explosive pieces of, well, political drama throughout its entire running so far. The first part, of course, of this inquiry looked heavily at how was Britain really prepared for the pandemic, and was it prepared? And you saw people like David Cameron and George Osborne put before the inquiry saying, hey, did your, austerity measures affect the UK? One of the biggest quotes that was being put forward was the previous Labour minister at the time coming forward from the World Health Organization, praising not only the UK but also France for being the two countries in the world most prepared for a potential pandemic. And then you move forward almost, 10 years later to the absolute mess that we had from 2020. And if you have been following the COVID inquiry, especially this week and last week as well, we have seen constantly a litany of failures, chaos, failure to make decisions, infighting, backfighting, you name it, as all being coming forward. And the more this goes on, the worse, honestly, this becomes for Boris Johnson, but also remember Rishi Sunak, because he will have to answer a lot of questions, I think, in and around when he came forward and up with his idea of his Eat Out to Help Out, because there have been a lot of people saying that might not have been a very good idea, Rishi. So maybe we'll see Rishi Sunak also have to give evidence at some point in the future as well. But before we go talking on about today, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, buy me coffee. And of course, as always, thank you very much to all those people who help support the channel. Of course, down below, there is a link to the Pony Club as well. And of course, the YouTube thank you button. So, as you can see today, today promises to be, I think, quite big for the inquiry. We've got two key people today giving evidence to the inquiry. As you can see, currently, Lee Cain, one of the principal advisors and key people in Boris Johnson's time at number 10, is right now giving evidence. And to be honest, so far, he's pretty much saying everything that we expected, that Johnson was not the man to really lead the UK through this crisis. He was not up to it. He couldn't make decisions fast enough or quick enough. And that's just so far. Like I say, remember, this is currently live at the time I am doing this video. Ultimately, we will do a video, I think, going over what had been said today in this inquiry. But it is well worth reminding you that this is going on right now. And of course, it will be continuing this week as well, because we are looking, or at least the inquiry has moved on to looking right at the start of the pandemic. And it is looking right at the top. It is looking what happened in number 10, the decisions that were made in number 10, and then subsequently we will see other people trickle down saying, well, this is what happened. And ultimately, this is all going to lead back to number 10, because they're all going to come back and say right from the start, this should not surprise you in the least. This really should not surprise you in the least. If anything, all the COVID inquiry does is pretty much confirm what we need to be true, that number 10 was in absolute chaos, that Boris Johnson just did not care. He could not make decisions fast enough. And of course, there were even worse people in the government at the time, although they'll try and deny it now, saying that, yeah, we shouldn't have gone into lockdown at all. Always remember that there were conservatives openly saying, we should never have gone into lockdown in the first place, because it will be terrible and damage our economy. Well, what about the thousands more people, if not billions more people potentially could have died because you just let people carry on as normal. What would have then happened to the economy? So the guy who I think everyone is expecting to give some probably really quite explosive evidence um, is obviously Dominic Cummings. Dominic Cummings will be giving evidence later on this afternoon. And to be honest, I think maybe we might go live when we get to Dominic Cummings. We'll see. We'll see how things go. But to be honest, so far, if you've been following this inquiry, um, yeah, it's pretty much confirming what we all knew, what we all saw was going on. And to be honest, more and more stuff comes out which just fully confirms what was going on, that it was absolute chaos in number 10. No one knew had any idea what they were doing, even though there were pandemic plans in place. They just decided not to follow them. They were questioning the expert advice giving them because it honestly seems to me that more stuff we hear about this uh, that there was going on, the more and more Johnson did not want to lock down, or was certainly part of. I really don't want to lock down because it might affect the economy, and I'm trying to be Mr. Big Brexit, everything's okay. Certainly seems to be going that way. But to be honest, this does not continue any good fortunes, I think, for the Conservatives. I think they know it. And with a potential general election coming up as well, this is the opportunity where Labour should be constantly hitting them again and again and again, not just out in public, but getting the message out across social media, getting across in PMQs as well, and just absolutely hammering them home on this. Because if they don't, well, what happens? What do you do? Do you just sit there and wait? But anyway, yes, this inquiry, I think, continues its more twists and turns, and of course, proving everything that we knew, that the next corner is just as bad as the next. And to be honest, the more we peek around the next corner, the worse it becomes. Yeah. It is honestly just going to show just what an absolute disaster of a government we have. And remember, many of the people who were in key decision-making processes at that time in 2020, they're still in charge today. They're still in the cabinet, which is just as worrying. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.